Lucid dreaming has considerable potential for promoting personal growth, self-development, enhancing confidence, improving mental and physical health, facilitating creative problem solving, and helping you progress to the path to self-mastery. Stephen LeBerg. In today's episode, I talked to Lana Sakwild. She's a beautiful soul who I actually met on Clubhouse during both of our lucid dreaming journeys. Lana is an expert in lucid dreaming and helping people use lucid dreaming to tap into all the infinite possibilities in terms of your career, your creative project, or just your overall life path. Lana is a really good coach, not only for lucid dreaming, but also for self-help and guidance overall. Today we have a great conversation about how she teaches people to tap into their lucid dreams. So welcome Lana Sakwild as she tells us a little bit about how she started her journey and how she started the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab.
I'm Lana Sakwild. I've been lucid dreaming since I was about 4 years old. I had my first lucid dream in early childhood. It came through nightmares or night terrors that I was having at that time. And then later in my adult life, I guess whilst I was kind of mid-20s, I'd been living in Tokyo, Japan for about 5 years, and I was working an office job that I wasn't super passionate about. And I really wanted to figure out, what do I want to do in my life? What's been a consistent thing in my life that I've always felt really passionate about. And for me, that was lucid dreaming. It had been there, through childhood, through tough times as a teenager, through dark times of depression in my life, and then just through other things like skill enhancement. And it always came up when I was helping friends and that kind of thing. So I decided then that I really would like to investigate it more, really learn more about the potential of working with dreams. And so I enrolled in a master's program where I could actually research lucid dreaming for treating depression, treating clinical depression, and worked with participants, hundreds of participants all over the world. And whilst I was doing that, people began asking me more about, oh, do you coach in this? Do you do this professionally? Can you help me out with my practice? And so that's what really led me to starting my own business, which is Get Lucid with Lana LLC. At the moment, the main course that I run is the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab, which is a 6-month now coaching program on lucid dreaming and lucid living practices for entrepreneurship. I see entrepreneurship as not just career-based, but kind of lucid entrepreneurship in terms of anyone who wants to bring a dream to life, whether it is career, business, relationships, self-development, happiness, whatever it is, anything that you want to change in your life. And we use lucid dreaming and lucid living practices to help do that, to help manifest your bigger dreams. So I work with students inside the lab doing that. And then I also run, different master classes or free live trainings. I like to have a little bit of all different things so that I can access as many people as possible and have as many people benefit from this practice as possible, whether they are really ready to, deeply invest in the practice themselves or whether they're just looking for free resources that they can try out on their own. And, I think we're on very similar missions of really seeing the potential of how this can help so many people in so many areas of their life. So I'm glad that this podcast exists and you're getting it out there and having a lot of success with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First, let me ask you this. When you say lucid living, could you talk a little bit about what that means to you and why that's so important in what you do and how that relates to lucid dreaming?
Yes. So there's lots of parts of it, but I guess in the most simple terms, for me, it's really about being able to integrate that gold, that wisdom, that knowledge, that conscious experience that we have in our lucid dreams back into the waking state. So, it's all well and good to have lucid dreams, have all these creative breakthroughs, work on skill enhancement, self-development stuff, have all these business ideas, try out different things and have all these amazing experiences whilst you're dreaming. But then, if you're waking up from that and just living a totally different life, if your lucid dreaming avatar is a totally different person almost to who you are in the everyday waking state, I think there's, then your lucid dreams do remain as just lucid dreams. Whereas, a lot of the practices that I teach inside the lab are how to take from your lucid dreaming space and really integrate and take action with those downloads and those insights and everything that you're doing in that conscious lucid dreaming space in the waking state, so that you're not just dreaming lucidly, but you're living lucidly as well. You're actually taking lucid action whilst you're awake. And it goes both ways as well, right? So I think a lot of people, when they start up a lucid dreaming practice, they're all focused on how can I get lucid whilst I'm asleep? But if you're not practicing lucidity and harnessing your awareness throughout the day whilst you're awake, it's really hard to have a lucid dream naturally or learn how to actually induce lucid dreams. So lucid living is also about integrating daily practices whilst you're awake that are in connection to what's going to trigger lucidity for you whilst you sleep.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's really all connected. And having that balance is like super important. But what about the people that come to you and maybe they want to get involved in the lab, but let's say they've never had a lucid dream before, like, those people that are just like, oh, I don't know, like it seems so far-fetched. They have never experienced it, but they're interested. Like, how do you teach them from zero?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's really interesting to me because, when I created the lab, I thought that it would be full of lucid dreamers and that they would be the main demographic, I guess, of people signing up. And I was very surprised to find a lot of people signing up, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are just creative, expansive into spirituality or other consciousness practices that just wanted to try something new for themselves, either for their own self-development or entrepreneurial endeavors. A lot of people who join the lab have never had a lucid dream ever before. So I work on practices right from ground zero, so to speak. So I've worked with students who come into the lab that are people who will tell me, I've just seen black for the last 10 years. Like I don't even remember the last time that I ever recalled a dream. And we'll work on improving their dream recall practices. A lot of my work is about deep personalization. So, dream recall is not just wake up and hopefully write down a dream in your journal. Your dream recall practice is going to be really different if you're a woman in your 40s and you have 3 kids that run into your bedroom every morning to wake you up, in comparison to, let's say, a boy in his mid-20s who can sleep in until 1 p.m. every afternoon, right? So it's about collecting what each individual is going through and the practices that are going to benefit them the most. But there's many people who join the lab that don't have dream recall. They then join us, they get their dream recall up to, 6 to 9 dreams a night. And then they can start transitioning some of those dreams into lucid dreams. Lucid dream work, I think a lot of it is to do with your mindset and your conscious awareness. So there are people who have signed up for the lab that have never experienced a lucid dream before. And literally the day that they sign up, they'll have a lucid dream that night. I'm sure that you've had that experience, Amina, with people who just tune into this podcast and just because they're listening to us talking about lucid dreams will then have a lucid dream experience that night. So it really can be that simple of a practice. But of course, in the lab, we go right back to foundations of building dream recall and then looking at really understanding what's showing up in your dream space, what's naturally pulling you towards lucidity, and then really personalizing those practices to create unique lucid dreaming triggers.
Awesome. That's a perfect explanation. And I love how you like personalize every student's experience that you have. It really shows like how much passion you have for it and like helping people really harness this ability. That's super cool.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's dreams are so vastly different, right? Like there's also that interesting thing with dreams where there's a lot of similarities, and common, scenarios that show up, like being in your high school classroom or your teeth falling out, or those kinds of common dream themes that come up for, it seems like, everyone. But then there's also particular things that show up for us uniquely just in certain seasons of our lives. So I think it's really important to personalize the practice and really pay attention to what's showing up for us. Whereas a lot of the generalized practices that you see online that are like, okay, well, pinch your nose or push your finger through the palm of your hand, that kind of thing, you can do that 200 times a day if you want. But if you're someone who in your dreams, you're never looking at your hand or you're never conscious of your dream body, it's going to take a really, really long time for that to ever show up for you and get you lucid.
Yeah, definitely. I tell people all the time, like, we're all different, you have to like really tune in and find what works for you. And in our dreams and in our life too, we're all different. Like we all have different paths and careers. So once they get to that point where they're lucid, what kind of things do you help people do? Like what types of tasks and what does their lucid dream space look like when you're helping them make certain advances in that with their career and stuff?
We'll be right back.
Are you interested in yoga, meditation, and reading spiritual self-help books? Do you admire spiritual teachers such as Oprah, Gabrielle Bernstein, or Eckhart Tolle? Now let me ask you, do you find yourself contemplating life's biggest, most mysterious questions? Me too, which is why I started the Cultivating Spiritual Curiosity podcast. On this show, I talk with spiritual leaders about everything: yoga, mental health, therapy, intuition, spirit guides, law of attraction, mediumship, and so much more. Click the links below to join our eye-opening conversations.
Yeah. I mean, it varies for each person depending on what they're really trying to achieve in their career. I guess some of the easiest ones to understand that people inside the lab have had the most amazing results with, well, I guess a couple of examples would be things like people who are trying to write something, whether it's a blog post or whether it's their first best-selling book. You can do something as simple as triggering lucidity and holding a book in your hands and saying, show me the next chapter of my book, or show me the title of my best-selling book. Show me what to write about in this next paragraph of my book, and open the book up and literally see the answers on the page in front of you. This works for a lot of different things. Like if you're an artist and you want to make an incredible painting to sell for your art exhibition, you could do something as simple as getting lucid and walking into the building that your art exhibition is going to be held in and looking at all the paintings on the wall in there and taking inspiration from that. Or similarly, holding a canvas in your hand in your lucid dream and saying, show me my best-selling art piece, and then waking up and literally recreating that in the waking state. So honestly, the possibilities with what you can do career-wise are just endless. They're going to look different for each person. But I guess for myself, one of the best examples is the lab itself. I had a really potent lucid dream about the lab before it was even in existence, where I sat down, I was at a table full of some of my current and past students, some people that I didn't even recognize, who were telling me about how particular modules really helped them, or the success that they were having in their own businesses and their own career paths due to the lab. And that triggered lucidity for me because one of the students I was talking to, I knew that the thing she was saying she got a result with was something we were still working on currently in the waking state. So for me, my lucid dreams have not only helped me with my own business, but they also oftentimes give me ideas of how to help my own students. But in that dream, I then went outside. I was standing on the beach. I could feel, the wind in my hair. I could smell the ocean. And I was focused on what was the lab? Like, what did it include? What were the modules that were getting people all these results? And I just began seeing it, like downloading it. It was almost like flashes. If you imagine like files downloading onto like a USB drive or something. I just started seeing it in fullness. And I woke up the next day and just started writing it all out. I turned my dining room at that time into just what looked like a crime scene with like all these notes of everything that I needed to include inside the Lucid Entrepreneur Lab. I wrote everything down and then I just started building it. And now it exists, right? Like now there's people inside it using those same modules that came from that lucid dream to create their own dreams, to bring their own dreams to reality. So, and it's now, a 6 turning 7-figure business for myself. And it came from a single lucid dream that I had.
Wow, that's super, super cool, super inspiring. And it's really like a life hack. And the fact that you took it and put the work in, because I feel like that's the important part. Like you immediately started writing it out and like giving attention to that.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it as well, because, and I'm sure you've had this experience, Amina, where like you don't wake up from a powerful lucid dream where you're having these breakthrough ideas and wake up being like, oh, maybe I'll think about that some other time. Like that's not possible. You wake up with a breakthrough idea and you're so energized and you can't wait to bring it to life. Like once you've tasted it and really consciously experienced inside your lucid dream, how life-changing it can be, especially if it's not just for yourself, especially if it's something that can help other people as well. Like you can't just sit on it. You can't just experience your art exhibition in fullness and everyone loving it and it being amazing and think like, oh, well, maybe I'll just wait till another time. You're going to be like racing to bring it to life and feel super motivated. You have that clarity, you have that lucidity in the vision. So I think it is kind of like a life hack, right? Like a lot of my students say that, like they get these ideas for their career or for breakthroughs in their own self-development. And they're like, isn't this cheating? Like, isn't it like, because it almost feels like it is, but it's not. It's your own ideas, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's true. It's like you're helping yourself really by tapping into this dream world, which is like really our birthright. Like we have it for a reason. We're like asleep for like a third of our lives. So I feel like part of what we're supposed to do here is like pay attention to that whole other side of us.
Yeah. And it's amazing how you can kind of tune into, I think, the collective consciousness in that space. And I've sometimes even had lucid dreams or non-lucid dreams, even where someone else has had this really amazing idea. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so cool. Like, I wish I thought of that. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, awesome. Like I did think of that. That was my dream. And that's now my idea, So I think it's great in that way as well.
Yeah, I love that too, because really anything that comes from our dreams is like ours to use. And I think it's cool. I actually had a similar dream to yours with my podcast. I started it. Wow, it's been 2 years now. I think almost 2 years, but I started in November 2020. And my friend Martin, who I met, he was my first ever podcast guest and we're friends. He does Clubhouse with me now, but he had told me when I first started, I was like, hey guys, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. Like, do you want to help? He had a dream of the podcast having all these episodes and stuff. And he was like, hey, I had a premonition, and he's super in tune with his premonitions. And he was like, you have so many episodes, like keep it up. And then recently I had a similar dream, like now that I have like a year of episodes episodes worth. And I had a super lucid dream where like I was going around doing all this cool, inspiring stuff. In the dream, I was like asking these dream characters, I think they were like my spirit guides, how's my podcast? Like, am I doing it right? Am I on the right track or whatever? And they were playing me like future episodes of mine from like, I don't know how long from now, because I had a whole different intro and new music and all this stuff. It was different, but it was me hearing myself having these conversations with people, and they had like so many views and stuff. So I was like, wow, cool. And in the dream, I was like, I don't want to hear myself talk. That's enough.
I love that. Yeah. I think it's super inspiring for ourselves. That it's exactly what I'm saying. You don't wake up from a dream like that and just be like, oh yeah, you're going to wake up and be like, awesome. I can't wait to see my podcast grow like that in waking life. And it just gives you that extra boost of motivation and really seeing the potential. I think lucid dreams are really great for kind of what people call quantum leaping, where if you're in a place in your life where for whatever reason you feel like a goal of yours is really far away, it's a really amazing thing to be able to kind of taste it a little bit in the lucid dream and keep that drive and that motivation for yourself to get to that point and see it manifest.
Yeah, definitely. So much power in that, whether you're trying to like resolve your life or start something new, like whatever the hurdle is, I feel like there's something within the lucid dream space for that. So for you and what you're doing, what is next? Like, I know you're doing some retreats and some stuff, but like what other dreams do you have for like where you want to take this?
So the lab at the moment is a 6-month program. And the way that I have it is you go through a cycle and then you're welcome to do it, as many times as you want. And that's been amazing because we've been able to create this community, kind of like a family of lucid entrepreneurs who can keep using this work in all seasons of their life. Because, as you're sharing, even in this question, like we have goals, but we don't then hit those goals and be like, okay, cool, life complete. You come up with bigger dreams and bigger ambitions. So alongside retreats and some other master classes and stuff like that, I'm currently building out the lab even more so that it will become a full year-round course where there's not just 6 months worth of modules, but taking from the last 2 years, building it into a full year of modules so that if you really want to give yourself a year to dedicate to this practice, although I think if you do that, it becomes a lifetime practice, that this will be a place where you can do that and really say, I'm going to give the next year of my life towards lucid dreaming, lucid living, being my best self, hitting that next level version of who I desire to become, and have something that helps you walk through that in fullness and not just on your own, but within a community as well.
Love it. I'm excited to see that growth. I feel like I've already seen it happen and I just know that you're on the right path, but I'm excited. So now, and I know that even us lucid dreaming experts, we still have ups and downs and have droughts of dreams or whatever, but how often do you actually have lucid dream?
I'm at the point now where I am very intimate with my practice. And so I can induce a lucid dream on command. Like I can go and take a 20-minute nap, have a lucid dream. I can lucid dream every single night. Sometimes I guess the most that I get to is around 6 lucid dreams in a row is usually where I get to before I'm like super awake and just like energized to the point where I can't sleep anymore. But I still really value my non-lucid dreams as well. I think tapping into that subconscious or even unconscious dream content is really, really important. So usually what I'll do is I'll dedicate some nights of the week to lucid dreaming and have usually 3 to 6 lucid dreams on that night. And then other nights of the week, I won't try to induce a lucid dream. Sometimes it will happen spontaneously. Obviously, when you get deep into the practice, that does happen. But then on those nights, even if I'm spontaneously inducing a lucid dream, I work on just, deep observation and not really altering the dream narrative, but just being a conscious observer. But yeah, I try and switch it off on different nights. So some of them will be specifically for lucid dreaming and particular tasks that I'm working on. And some of the nights during my week will be on just being open to whatever is supposed to come up for me that night.
Yeah, I like that because, like you said, our regular dreams are just as important and have a lot to teach us. And sometimes when we just take it in instead of trying to create something, we can receive instead of going to do things. And that can be just as powerful. I wanted to give you a chance to just talk about anything that is calling to you, maybe like dream advice or anything that you feel like is a message that has been sticking out to you lately.
Yeah. So we did a group session this morning, and I think a big topic that came up and one that I'm currently working on for my own like mini YouTube series at the moment is about finding focus in lucid dreams and loosening into lucidity. I think a lot of beginners end up kind of grasping or feeling a lot of desperation in the practice. Like, oh my God, I need to do all these things throughout the day to have a lucid dream. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. Like the conditions have to be perfect. I've got to set all these alarms on my phone. I got to reality check all throughout the day. I got to set up my dream journal. I have to go to sleep undisturbed and then, wake up at like 3 a.m. and do wake back to bed or that kind of thing. And they create this really intense practice for themselves that's not only like makes it even more frustrating if they don't have a lucid dream after all that, but I don't think it brings fun into the practice. And if it's not fun, it's not going to be consistent. So something that I really encourage is using a lucid language for yourself and really just sinking into believing that it gets to be easy, that it doesn't have to be super complicated, that, like I was saying, it can be as simple as being like, I'm going to go take a 20-minute nap right now and have a really powerful, potent, lucid dream. And if you really believe you can do that, you'll do it and surprise yourself with it. Like it's absolutely possible. Just as like if you have, a flight to catch, really early morning flight to catch, or an interview or something like that, and you go to sleep, usually the next day you wake up like 5 minutes before your alarm because it's really conscious in your mind, that kind of thing. So I think my advice for people would be inject fun into the practice, really enjoy the practice. Don't put so much pressure or desperation into it, and just believe that this is something readily accessible for you anytime, anywhere, when conditions aren't perfect. That's the amazing thing about lucid dream work is it's a free practice for everyone. Dreams are our birthright, like you were saying, Amina, and anyone can do it. It doesn't mean you don't have to be like a lucid dreamer that's had 10 years of practice to have this profound dream, lucid dream that changes the whole trajectory of your life. You can literally do that tonight if you want to. So I think that would be my last thing that I would want people to take away.
If you like this episode, definitely check out Lana's website, lanasakwild.com. It's in the description. And check out her lab. You can also find her YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. She has so much great content. If you want to get deeper involved in the lucid dreaming community, download the Clubhouse app. It's a free app and you can join our lucid dreaming group and talk to so many lucid dreamers every Tuesday on a weekly basis. You can share your stories, ask questions, and just listen in and learn. Also follow the Dream World podcast on TikTok and Instagram and stay tuned for our next episode.